Hello everyone, I'm Fozzie, or Cam, and I'm here as always with my co-host Will. Will, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Cam. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, and today we have a another special guest on after James. Um, this won't become a common theme. It's usually just a special occurrence, but it just so happens that this is 2 weeks in a row. Today we have Cole on with us. Cole, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here for this episode.
Yeah,
Um,
super excited for this. Like last year or so, I actually mentioned I had another podcast at one point. It kind of fell apart. It was called Twisted Bones. We talked about horror, and Cole was actually on that with me. That was a while ago. Um, but Cole technically is an experienced podcaster, so he knows what he's doing, and I'm excited for this episode. So today is going to be our 2023 movie ranking, as the Oscars will be this weekend, and yeah, we this is kind of an annual thing we do where we rank every movie we've seen this year, and then we kind of go in depth on our top five. Um, so yeah, Will, would you like to go first and mention the and rank the 18 movies you saw this year, and then after we all rank the movies, we'll break down our top five and go deep into the top five.
Sure. So do you want me to just go through my whole list, saying the movies, and then go into more detail about my top five?
Yeah, we're gonna have everyone just quickly go through their list, and then we'll come back around and break down the top five.
All right, that sounds good. Alrighty. So, folks, I saw 18 movies last year, which is about half of what you saw, Cam. My guess, Cam, is that you probably saw the most of the three of us, knowing the
I don't know. Cole might have seen more than me.
Okay,
I only had 35.
Oh, okay.
35. Oh, okay, so I guess you win by three, then, Cam. Yeah. So you guys both beat me, but I did manage to see 18 last year, and yeah, I'll just go ahead and say my 18. I mean, there are different types of movies on here. Some I would not have seen if I didn't have friends that were interested in seeing them. Some I would not have seen if I didn't have family members that were interested in them. But that's the great thing about having people that you know, because they inspire you to go see movies that maybe you wouldn't have seen otherwise, but they inspired you to go see. So without further ado, here we go. At number 18, I've got the MCU movie The Marvels. At number 17, I've got another MCU movie, back to back MCU movies to start us off, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. At number 16, I've got Five Nights at Freddy's. And at number 15, I've got Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among
Yeah, I
Thieves.
heard that
At
was
number
horrible.
four, that one was not great in my opinion by like any stretch. Like not bad, but also not
Yeah.
great. Like a very forgettable movie to me. Like I will quickly say, like the ones I've just seen, the reason I have them so low is because they're very forgettable to me. Like I'm not spending any time like really thinking about them after I've seen them. Anyway, so that was 15. Number 14, I've got Indiana Jones in the Dial of Destiny, one of your, I would say, least favorite movies of 2023.
Ugh.
Cam, is that fair to say?
It's pretty low.
Pretty low. Okay, that one I've got at 13 or at 14. At 13, I've got Oppenheimer. At 12, I've got Barbie. At 11, I've got uh, Asteroid City. At 10, I've got a movie that another guest on this podcast refuses to even mention by name.
Ugh.
I'm gonna go ahead and mention it by the name for the purposes of this conversation. Creed 3. Number 9, I've got Killers of the Flower Moon. Number 8, I've got Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Number 7, I've got Naiad. Number 6, I've got Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Number 5, I've got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Number 4, I've got a musical, which I'm shocked is even in my top 5. So I give this movie massive, massive credit for that. I've got Wonka at number 4. At number 3, I've got Air. At 2, I've got an independent movie making in appearance, Flora and Son. And number 1, I have got the Holdovers, which I don't think will win Best Picture at the Oscars this year. I'm expecting Oppenheimer to win
I'm
Best
glad it's
Picture.
nominated.
But if the Holdovers ever does win Best Picture, I will be ecstatic. So that is
I
my
never got around to that one, but I heard great things about it. I hope I
yeah.
can soon.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
I thought it was
fantastic.
yeah, I thought it was great. So there you go. My 18 from this year ranked.
Love it, love it. But before we move on to Cole, quickly, I just wanted to mention the movie Naiad. I've
Yeah.
heard really good things about it. Have
Yeah,
you
so
seen Spirited Away, which is by that director as well? Have you seen
I
Spirited
have
Away?
I have not, no.
Because that's by that director, and that's like one of the biggest animated films of all time. But anyway, so you love Naiad, really?
Well, I wouldn't say. Well, like I, I wouldn't say that I like. I don't think it's a great movie. I would describe it more as a good but not great movie. The only reason I put it higher is that there are movies like higher to me on like there are movies that I could put higher on the list, but the ones below that I all have things to kind of like I have like critiques and nitpicks about. And while I don't think Naiad is like a great movie by any stretch, I have positive thoughts whenever I think of it. So I took enjoyment into the conversation when I made the list, and that's one.
Yeah.
While I wouldn't put it in the great category, my enjoyment of it was solidly high, and I have positive feelings whenever I uh, think of it. So I don't think it's a great film by any stretch, but I do think it's good.
Yeah. All right. I was thinking about checking it out because it's also nominated for Best Animated Feature. And aside from Spider Verse, that's the only other animated film that I could see winning.
That
Because
one's
I.
actually not a
Oh,
animated film. That
wasn't?
one's actually a yeah.
Wait.
That one
Then I
is
am
not
thinking
in.
of something
That
completely
one's
different,
not
Will.
in
Could you be
animated
thinking
film.
of The Boy and the Heron?
Yeah, I am thinking of The Boy and the Heron.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That is what I am thinking of. That's
And
correct.
yeah, that one was nominated for
Yeah,
best
I'm sorry.
animated
I'm losing
I could
it.
see that one winning over Spider-Verse
Yeah,
if
because it won the
anything's
Golden
gonna.
Globe.
Yeah.
and
Anyway,
it's had
jeez, that was a big
and
error.
its Rotten Tomatoes rating is 97%. So
Yeah.
that tells you something
It's
right
good.
there. Wow.
Yeah, alright, that was a huge error by Cam Freights, host of the Everything podcast. But
No problem.
moving on from that, we have Cole's list of, I don't know, 36 films, you said, Cole?
36,
Yep.
yes.
I'm excited to hear this.
All right, so to kick it off, number 36, I have the horrendous Utopia Circus Maximus movie that I don't think can be even really considered a film, but
Yeah.
I have it. Uh, 35, I have Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. 34, Exorcist Believer. 33, Aquaman 2: The Lost Kingdom. 32, The Flash. 31, Shazam: Fury of the Gods. 30, Strays. 29, Meg 2: The Trench. In 28, Indiana Jones: Dial of Destiny. 27, Renfield. Did that come out this?
That was this year, yeah.
26, Mithragan. Megan, I don't know how to pronounce it, but 25, Blue Beetle. 24, Cocaine Bear. 23, the Super Mario Bros. Movie. 22, Five Nights at Freddy's. 21, Wonka. I thought that would be much higher, but making this list, I saw a few movies that I enjoyed way more. Uh, I don't, I think me and Cameron have opposite views on this movie, but Thanksgiving. 19, Asteroid City. 18, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem. 17, Knock at the Cabin. 16, Creed 3. 15, Totally Killer. 14, Barbie. 13, Napoleon. 12, Scream 6. 11, Saw X. 10, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Number 9, They Clone Tyrone. 8, Evil Dead Rise. 7, John Wick Chapter 4. 6, Killers of the Flower Moon. 5, Godzilla Minus One. A24's Talk to Me. 3, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. 2, The Iron Claw. And 1, Oppenheimer.
Ooh,
Yeah, I was expecting
nice.
Spider Verse to be higher, but that's actually kind of similar to my
It
top
was
three.
until I realized the Iron Claw was like one of the most devastating movies I've ever
Yeah,
seen in my
it
life.
is a very not disturbing. Well,
Heavy.
kind of,
It's
but
heavy.
it definitely leaves an impact. For sure. Um, all right. For my list, at number 38, I mean, I think we all knew this was coming. The Marvels is at 38, one of the worst movies I've ever seen. At
Skipped it.
37 is Utopia Circus Maximus. And in case you guys are unfamiliar with this, which I would not blame you if you are, Travis Scott is a musician, and he made a movie for his album Utopia, and it was horrible. It was terrible. It was barely a movie. It was like, I don't know, it was like an hour and 10 minutes. Yeah, it was terrible. It's just a series of music videos, and if they were just individual music videos, I might have enjoyed it more, but it's a movie, and there was no movie in it, and that kind of upset me. Alright, that's 37. 36, we have Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. 35, Strays. 34, Renfield. 33, Meg 2, The Trench. 32, The Flash. 31, Exorcist Believer. 30, Ant-Man Quantumania, or Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. 29, Thanksgiving. 28, A Haunting in Venice. 27, Five Nights at Freddy's. 26, one of the three Wes Anderson short films that released this year, The Swan. 25, Knock at the Cabin. 24, The Killer. 23, Scream 6. 22, another one of the Wes Anderson short films, The Rat Catcher at 22. 21, Dumb Money. 20, Creed 3. 19, Cocaine Bear. 18, Air. 17, another Wes Anderson short film, Poison. 16, Wonka. 15, Evil Dead Rise. 14, Saw X. 13, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. 12, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. 11, The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, which is a longer short film that Wes Anderson released this year. 10, They Clone Tyrone. 9, Barbie. 8, Killers of the Flower Moon. 7, Asteroid City. 6, John Wick. 5, The Holdovers. 4, Talk to Me. 3, The Iron Claw. 2, Oppenheimer. And 1, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So me and Cole's top 5 is actually very similar. But yeah, I'm actually excited to break this down. I actually made this list as I saw the movies. So the first movie I saw, I don't even know what it was. So I just put it on the list, and as I saw movies, I kept adding to it and reorganizing it. And I use Letterboxd. If you guys want to follow me on Letterboxd, my name is Fozzie, Fozzee. Cole is also on Letterboxd if you want to follow him as well. His name on Letterboxd is
Madgrash.
Madgrash, yes, Madgrash, Madgrash on Letterboxd. Throw us a follow if you want to, because we review every movie we see there. But yeah, Will, would you like to break down your top 5 movies of 2023?
Yeah, so as I said, there are I have other movies on my list. I'm not saying they're not well done, but at the end of the day, enjoyment of these my enjoyment of the 5 movies I have in my top 5, which I'll remind everyone, I've got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 at 5, Wonka at 4, Air at 3, Flora and Sun at 2, and The Holdovers at 1. Not that I don't respect other movies on my list and acknowledge that they're well done films. My enjoyment of those 5 was just the highest of any movies that I saw in 2023, and for a movie like Wonka, musicals I don't even go to see. Like that's not even a genre like of film that I enjoy per se, but I enjoyed it so much. So I want to give that film so much so much credit for that. And I'll end by saying this about The Holdovers. What I It was just like to have a movie that came out that was shot with, I guess, like a camera from the 70s. So
Yeah,
it was
it
shot
looked like it.
with, yeah, like it was shot like it was a movie from back in the day. To
Yeah,
have a to have like to have a movie like that be made and be a major release in 2023, I just thought was so refreshing. Um, because as much as I love Marvel movies, I don't think this is their, like they did have a couple hiccups last year, Marvel, with Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and with the Marvels. So I enjoy seeing other non-action movies, non-superhero movies in the theater, and to have a movie like The Holdovers be a major release in 2023, it was so refreshing to me. So yeah, those are my top five. And I'll just end by saying this: even though I didn't have either of these movies in my top five, the whole Barbenheimer thing last July with Barbie and Oppenheimer, that whole concept, I just want to say I loved it.
yeah.
Like that to
It
me,
really helped the state that
it,
movies are in right now.
exactly. Like that stuff like that to me is what going to the movie theater is all about and what's great about movies and why we love movies. So while neither of those films makes my top five, the fact that we got to have the whole Barbenheimer mania last summer, I thought was just great for the state of movies. So I'm thrilled that that happened.
Yeah, yeah. It was super beneficial for cinema. And quickly, I want to touch on the holdovers real quick. Yeah, that was probably my favorite aspect of the film. The fact that it looked like it was made in the 70s and was just kind of a throwback movie. I am super happy it got made. All the performances were fantastic, and it even grew on me as time went on, and I already liked it right after seeing it. So, yeah, I was super impressed with the filming techniques they used. Um, but it's also in my top five, so I want to save a little bit for that. But Cole, would you like to break down your top five movies of the year?
Yes, I would. Thank you very much. All right. So, um, this one surprised me when making my list. Godzilla minus one. Before I saw this movie, I would have never thought I would have a Godzilla movie in my top five for a year, given they're all like just spectacle. Most of them don't really have a very compelling arc for any of the humans in the movies. It's just the monster destroys, cleanup. I've never been too big of a fan, but I can
Yeah,
enjoy
I
them.
get that.
This one,
They're fun.
this one was one of the most compelling human stories I've probably seen in a movie. Uh, the
Wow.
way the way the characters are handled, and like the way Godzilla is kind of like a symbol for what happened back in Hiroshima. Uh, I thought like it was really well executed, and yeah, it was a special type of Godzilla movie that just came out of the blue. I didn't expect to be as good as it was. A24's Talk to Me. I kind of going in, I kind of knew this was going to be a great movie. Um, A24 doesn't have a lot of bad movies, and I think this is one of their very best. And I hope to see the sequel be just as good as this one was.
Yeah.
Number three, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This one's going to be generational. For years to come, it's going to change animation. And there's not much to be said. Beautiful story. Uh, I think it could have been nominated for Best Picture if this was not such like a stacked year. Um, amazing, amazing movie.
For sure.
I can't wait to see what they do in the third. The Iron Claw, I've already given some of my thoughts on, but the way this movie made me feel like for days, maybe even weeks, um, it was like special. I cared for these characters probably because like they were real people, but their story was compelling the way the director did a really good job on it. Sean Durkin, um, great directing. Zach Efron really shines.
Yeah,
He was amazing. I did not expect like I or like cheesy high school movies,
yeah,
and the fact on such a performance as such a tragic character is truly amazing. And number one, Oppenheimer, one of the most morally great person people the in world history. And I think what Christopher Nolan did with this movie was genius. It was a masterpiece. Um, the way he directs and like he just like directs everything with such passion, and
yeah,
you can really tell while watching these movies. Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, just everybody in this stacked cast, really like outshined each other. Had everyone had their own moment to shine
yeah,
in this movie, and I thought that helped make it really beautiful. And it's also nice to know, like, I've never been really big on World War II until this movie, because this movie kind of pushed me to
yeah. You
want
didn't
to
know a lot
learn
about
more
it,
about
yeah,
it. And like Will said, Barbenheimer was one of the greatest things to happen in cinema in the 21st century.
yeah.
Uh,
It was super fun. I mean, you usually wouldn't get a bunch of adults to go see a movie called Barbie, and you wouldn't usually get a bunch of, I don't know, 13-year-olds and younger and older kids seeing Oppenheimer. So it was a really special event, and I'm super glad it happened. We actually did a video, or I think it was part of the only movie show. I actually did a video on it. If you guys want to watch that. But now it's actually time for my ranking of, or my breakdown of my top five. Alright, so my top five is. At number five, I have The Holdovers, like I said, and I kind of briefly discussed it with Will when he mentioned it on his list. And yes, it's a Christmas movie, but I feel like you could watch that any time of year and still find a lot of enjoyment out of it. Um, yeah, it's also not really a Christmas movie. I mean, it's set
Yeah.
during that time, but that's not the real theme of the movie. It's not like about Christmas really. Um, but I like it. It's a very deep movie. I think the performances are great. Um, I was particularly impressed with Divine Joy Randolph's performance. I thought she was fantastic. She's in a show I watched called Only Murders in the Building, and she's fantastic in that as well. And I'm so glad she's nominated for an Oscar. Paul Giamatti was also fantastic, and Dominic Sessa, a newcomer. This was his first ever movie.
No.
He was fantastic in this. I really, really enjoyed his performance. Yeah, he was hilarious. Like I said earlier, I love the way this movie was shot. It looks like a 70s film, which is really impressive. You see a lot of directors shooting on film, and it doesn't look like they shot on film. So then what ends up being the point of shooting on film, right? Alexander Payne did that perfectly. It looks like a throwback movie, and I'm here for it. I really enjoyed it. Um, yeah, solid acting, solid script, all around a great movie. I really enjoyed it. But at number four, there is Talk to Me. And obviously, Cole and I love horror movies. We had a podcast about it that went unsuccessful. Um, but yes, we love horror movies. So at number four, I have Talk to Me, which is an A24 movie that I really enjoyed. I thought the performances were great, and it takes place in Australia, which might actually catch people off guard because there is a scene where there are kangaroos, which might not make sense if you aren't aware that this movie takes place in Australia. But anyway, yeah, it was a really Really good horror movie. There were some awesome scares, and actually, upon rewatching it, I was still scared, even though I knew what was going to happen. So yeah, I was super impressed that it was able to still scare me after a rewatch, which usually doesn't happen. And I usually don't get super scared when watching horror movies. So yeah, props to Talk to Me for doing that. Um, the direction by the Philippou brothers. I hope I pronounced that right. Yeah, they were fantastic. Um, so yeah, they're actually YouTubers, which is also really cool. They were visual effects artists, and that the fact that they were able to make this pretty big movie is super impressive. I really enjoyed it. The horror was great, the story was great, and I'm super excited, as Cole said, for the sequel and spin-off that are coming out. So yeah, super excited for that. Really like the premise with the hand and everything. Super cool. Three is the Iron Claw. Great performances all around, like Cole said again. Um, Zac Efron obviously going through a huge, not only acting transformation, but he also put on a lot of muscle for this. Because he's playing a wrestler, obviously. And the fact that this movie is a true story makes it even more resonant. Um, yeah, it's a powerful film. The direction is off the charts good. Um, and actually kind of has a more or less happy ending, which I was shocked by actually. Yeah, overall great performances. Jeremy Allen White was fantastic in his role.
Not
Um,
to mention him, but yeah.
yeah, he was great. I have to watch The Bear. I need to watch The Bear. He is such a good
I got
actor, and The Bear has such
one.
good reviews.
I got one episode through and then decided to go rewatch Breaking Bad. I gotta get back to that.
Yeah, I've heard such great things about it. So I think eventually I'll check out The Bear, and once I do, we can talk about it on the podcast. Have you seen The Bear, Will?
I have not, no.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard really good things about it. It has really good reviews. So yeah, super excited for that. Want to start that show. And one more thing about the Iron Claw is the first half of the movie is so happy, and then it just does a whole 360 and turns into this kind of depressing movie.
Just like a turning point, and it just
Yeah,
boom, steep
yeah.
decline.
Definitely. I mean, it is a turning point, that's for sure. Um, but yeah, I enjoyed both halves. The drama, the tension between the family is awesome. I love the dynamic between the characters. Overall, yeah, really big fan of this movie. It could have been higher if, like, I think Cole, you mentioned this, if this year wasn't so stacked with movies. Um, at the number two spot, Oppenheimer had to be there somewhere. I mean, it is such a good movie. Another movie where the performances were off the charts. Obviously, Cillian Murphy, groundbreaking performance, legendary performance that will go down in history as one of the best performances in a biopic ever. I mean, he's up there with Rami Malek as Freddie Mercury,
I
and
think he did
actually,
better than Rami Malek,
you
actually.
could make the argument. I just think the thing with Freddie Mercury as and Rami Malek as Freddie Mercury, in Bohemian Rhapsody. I feel like Freddie Mercury. He's such a unique person. I guess Oppenheimer is as well, but he wasn't like as loud and as unique, and he didn't sing like Freddie Mercury did. Um, But yeah, you can definitely make the argument. They were both tremendous performances, and I don't think I'd ever um, predict that I would be comparing Oppenheimer and Freddie Mercury together. But here we are. Emily Blunt was fantastic as well. Florence Pugh was fantastic. Um, Robert Downey Jr. nominated for an Oscar. Um,
Yeah, I forgot to mention him too, but great performance from him. The way they use the stories to like switch around, that was creative with the gray
yeah, yeah,
film
yeah.
in that.
Yeah, the black and white scenes all looked really good. And one thing I liked about this movie was, oh my god, Rami Malek is in this movie. And so, oh wow, Freddie Mercury and Oppenheimer are in the same movie. Wow. So it actually makes sense that I made that comparison now. Perfect. But yeah, they did. Christopher Nolan did this thing where he'd get these big celebrities like Kenneth Branagh, Casey Affleck, and Rami Malek to play these characters who were in the movie for like 1 minute, and it just fills it out, and it shows you he's not just casting these big celebrities just to cast big celebrities and promote his film. He's casting them because he knows they'll be good actors for the role, and it also tells you a lot about Christopher Nolan because it shows you how much these actors respect him. Because I feel like if this were any other director, Rami Malek, Kenneth
Would not be
Branagh,
there.
they wouldn't agree to be in one for 1 minute of screen time, you know. But here they are doing it for Chris Nolan. So yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect of the film, and I feel like it's kind of an attention to detail thing that Christopher Nolan did. So yeah, such a meticulous director. I mean, yeah, there's really no complaints I have about this movie. It's just not as good. That's the only way I can explain it as the number one spot, which is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which oh boy, yeah, that is such a great movie, and the fact that it's just a part one, which usually frustrates me, and I usually can't rate that very high. That's astounding. I am so shocked that I was able to put this so high because it's a part one, it ends on a cliffhanger, and yeah, all right. So let's start out right off the bat. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was so revolutionary that people started making a style of animation, and people online and people making films just started calling it Spider-Verse style of animation, you know? That's how revolutionary the first one was, right? And then they came back with this 2.5 hour long, even better animation, an even better story. Granted, it's not even complete yet, which is crazy that I'm even saying this. Um, a ridiculously strong voice cast. I mean, I was stunned by this movie. The animation is off the charts good. I love the way it switches up just styles. I think Karen Sony as Spider-Man India was fantastic. He was so funny. Definitely a standout for me. And yeah, I am just stunned by how much I've been able to enjoy this movie because like I said, it's not even a complete story. Spider Punk was fantastic. His animation was great. He was so funny. Granted, I couldn't always understand what he was saying, because of his muffled voice, and
Strong,
his
very
accent.
strong British accent.
Yeah, but yeah, I enjoyed this movie. And Will, you said you enjoyed it less on rewatch. I actually, my opinion stayed the same on rewatch. I love it
Uh,
just as much. But do you want to explain for the podcast in depth
sure.
as to why your opinion kind of changed on the film?
Sure. So I think part of it may have had to do with it being a movie that was meant to be seen on the big screen. But I, for some reason, I just wasn't as into the animation watching it the second time
Really?
as the first time. At like it was just a little too busy for me sometimes. So I was just like the animation style. I was just like, wow, I'm surprised by how much I'm surprised by my lack of enjoyment compared to the first time. So that was the main thing that happened for me on second viewing. But also, I don't want to take away from the first viewing that I had, and I wouldn't be surprised if when I think it's going to be Beyond the Spider Verse, the final
Yeah.
one, like when I get on a big screen, when I sit in front of a big screen and watch that, I wouldn't be uh, surprised if I enjoy that again. So I don't want to take away from my first viewing either, which was fantastic.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I get what you're saying, in regards to the animation. It just, it actually, when I first saw Into the Spider Verse in 2018, I was kind of the animation I did think was a little too much back then in 2018, but since I have come around to it and I've enjoyed it a lot more.
I
But
think I think the way the animation is, like you said, Will, so busy. I
Right.
think at times in this movie that can work for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Because what I realized on my second, and I believe I did a third rewatch, every time I watched it, there was something new to
Yeah.
discover in the background of these animations. I realized it's my second rewatch how Hobie moves 3 frames per second, other than like two or one, like they do with the other characters.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's just that attention to detail that the animators have. It's really impressive.
I also think Oscar Isaac was the standout performance of that movie, for me at least.
Yeah, he was great. Spider-Man 2099 is such a intimidating character, and I can't wait to see more of him in Beyond the Spider-Verse. And he actually kind of, sort of serves as a villain for this movie, because the Spot isn't really the villain yet because he was barely in the movie, kind of. He's kind of just in the beginning parts.
Yeah, another
Um,
thing I liked about that movie was how like you kind of questioned whose side you were on, because you get where Miles is coming from, but you also get where um
yeah, the Spot's coming from, yeah.
you get where like every single one of them are coming from. You get where Spider-Man 2099 is coming from with the canon,
Yep.
um
Canon event, yep.
Miles trying to save his dad, and the Spot being stuck looking like he is. I
Yeah.
think it was beautiful character development all around.
I totally agree with you. Um, and this movie, I said it before in the podcast, there are people out there who just don't watch animated movies. Why? When there are movies like this that are so good, what is the point? What is the point of not watching this? It is such a good movie. You're just taking away from your enjoyment of life if you're not watching animated movies and or television shows, you know?
Some of the
Um,
best things
yeah.
to come
I
out
mean,
of cinema.
me and you, Cole, we love Invincible, which is an animated
Beautiful,
show. Yes,
beautiful
it's
show.
fantastic. I mean, it's one of my favorite action shows of all time, and it's an animated show. I mean, I just think there are a lot of people out there who don't give animation enough credit, and it's fantastic. There are so many great things about it. The characters can be more expressive. It can show things in more detail, right? And it can just bring a lot more fun to film that you wouldn't usually get, right?
What you
Like,
can't get out of some live action stuff where the technology's not advanced enough to get that, animation's a perfect substitute.
yeah, for sure. I mean, just like the changing art styles in here, that you can't do that in live action film. You know, you can't change the style. Well, I guess you could, but not as
Not as they do.
not
You
like
can't
this.
switch
Yeah,
over from Lego
yeah.
to
There's the
noir
Lego scene.
to
I mean, come on.
Renaissance.
Yeah,
Can't do that.
you really can't. And I was just so impressed with this movie, and I have been ever since I watched it the first time, and I still am after my second time viewing this. Stellar voice cast. Yeah, I loved the movies that came out in 2023. I think it was one of the best years we've had in cinema in a while, I think. Um, Cole and Will, I think you guys would agree with me for sure, right?
I believe in the last decade, I think it could be top three.
Yeah.
Um, there were so many standout, great masterpiece of movies that it was a great year to love movies.
Yeah, for sure. And Will, I know you were a huge fan of this year too.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but I think the reason last year was a positive one is because now I actually want to give Marvel and Star Wars credit, because the reason that I enjoy their movies so much is because from what I've seen, like I think they do that type of movie the best. Like when I'm seeing like other movies in recent years, like like Black Adam or like Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves or Five Nights at Freddy's, movies like that, like I'm not like blown away. So like I want to give Marvel and Star Wars credit because I feel like they actually make those types of movies the best, and their movies are actually worth being seen on
Yeah.
screen. But I hate to say it, I think one of the reasons, last year was such a success was because we pushed the superhero movies and the action movies and movies like that, which really feel like all we get in terms of major releases in cinema nowadays. I hate to say it, but I think one of the reasons last year was so great is that those movies got pushed to the side a bit, and we had Barbenheimer with Oppenheimer
Yeah.
and Barbie, and both of those movies made a lot of money. I hate to say it, but well, actually, I don't hate to say it because as much as I love Marvel and Star Wars, I do want other movies
Yeah.
out there, and I
Yeah.
don't want other studios trying to copy what Marvel and Star Wars are doing just for the sake
Yeah.
of making as much money as Marvel and Star Wars makes.
No, I
So I think one of the reasons last year was such a success was because some of those movies got pushed to the side and people were reminded that there are other great movies out there to enjoy too.
yeah, I do believe superhero fatigue is becoming a real thing. And if like people like Kevin Feige, the people at Sony, at Warner Brothers, they really need to step up this game and like put some time and effort into what they're pushing out. Like Warner Brothers just um shut down Batman Beyond film animated like the Spider-Verse movies,
Hmm.
which would have been genius. It would have dragged everybody to the theaters, in my opinion. But they're shutting it down to make cash grabs,
Yeah.
which I don't think should be happening right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the major superhero movie studios, obviously except for Sony, they keep making garbage. Um, but for Warner Bros. And Marvel, I think they're kind of getting that, which is why the DCEU ended, and now the DCU is beginning, run by James Gunn, and he knows how to make a superhero
I
movie.
do have high hopes for James Gunn's universe.
Yeah, so I think Warner Bros. Is kind of finally coming to their senses in regards to superhero fatigue and what people actually want to see. And Marvel is also coming to their senses and realizing superhero fatigue is a real thing. And they are releasing just one Marvel movie this year that is probably going to make $1 billion. So, yeah, they're going to have a successful year. Um, so it's a good way for them to work on the movies that they have because they're going to have a lot in 2025. Thunderbolts, Captain America, New World Order, and is there another one? Blade?
Secret Wars, is that
No, that's not 2025.
Is it Fantastic Four?
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's Fantastic Four, yeah.
Fantastic Four, yeah. Um, so yeah, Marvel is going to make it probably $1 billion with this movie, and it's definitely going to be a good movie. So I actually think, and I haven't said this. Will and I have usually spent a lot of time hating on the decisions that Marvel has made, but I think I can confidently say, as of now, we've moved on from a lot of crappy Marvel products and bad DC projects. I think we're headed in the right direction. I think the both franchises will start to make an even bigger comeback. I mean, and also in reality, people say they don't watch Marvel movies. That's not true.
Yeah,
They
it's
all make so much money. That's just not true. Even the Marvels, which obviously wasn't that successful, it made like $500 million, which is still a lot. And it made like it didn't just break even, it profited. So I mean, that's still a success, right? Maybe it's not as much as Marvel
yeah.
would have wanted, but they're still making successful movies.
I I do believe that we are starting to see what a good type of movie that these I don't know how like action movies, action-packed movies and shows even superheroes, like things like Star Wars. Dune 2 just came out. That was
Yeah.
a great example of what you can do with these action movies, these what can be very hollow if done wrong, but done right, it can be compelling and very well critically acclaimed, like Dune 2 has been. Uh,
Guardians
Invincible
3.
season two, yeah, Guardians 3 was an amazing example of what Marvel can do. Um, Invincible season 2 is off to a great start, and The Boys season 4 is coming in June.
Yeah, super excited for that.
So I believe there are going to be some really good examples on what Kevin Feige and James Gunn and the people at Sony should look to like replicate in their own way.
Let me say this about the superhero fatigue conversation because not that I don't buy into it. Part of what I think the issue is that some of the recent Marvel movies that have come out recently just haven't been very good. Case in point, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was not a great movie, didn't do well at the box office. The Marvels, not a great movie, didn't do well at the box
But
office.
here's the thing.
But
They
Guardians 3 on on the other hand, really good Marvel movie that does do well at the box
Yeah.
office. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse does do well at the box office. So I think part of this is is less superhero fatigue and more just that the movies aren't very good.
Yeah, and we're saying this, but it's not like Ant-Man and the Marvels were unsuccessful movies. Like I said, they still profited for Marvel. Um, so I don't completely buy into superhero fatigue because everyone always says, yeah, superhero movies are over. I mean, you probably saw the movie if you're saying that. I mean, it's just I think it's yeah I think actually Will, you're actually kind of right here. It's just the movies aren't as good, but they're still making money, and superhero fatigue isn't. That's not really the root of the problem. It's not that people are tired of superhero movies. If someone makes a good superhero movie, people will go see it. So Will, I actually think you're right on that. But yeah, that kind of wraps up this episode of the Everything Podcast. Cole, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
No
Of course.
problem. Will, thanks for coming on as always. And also want to remind everyone that we have a special episode, an interview with French musician LaFlo Franco, coming in either April or May. Super excited for that. Um, Actually, Cole participates in the Mane Musical event along with me in school. Do you have LaFlo winning this year, Cole?
It is actually a very close matchup between his first round matchup, Gims.
Yeah.
I believe whoever wins that match is probably going to be the first contender to be the winner for Monty Music Hall 2024.
I went with LaFlo just because I
So
mean,
so did I because a
yeah,
little bit of a bias. I
yeah, and
love the
I thought his
man's.
song was slightly better. Um, but Gims has won in the past, and I guess so has LaFlo. But we'll see. Um, but yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And also, I posted 2 new shorts today, and they actually kind of got a lot of views.
I I saw those. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, we're gonna be doing more of that. And thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the Everything Podcast, and we'll see you next time.